Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today after I quit. On March 8th, 2023 at approximately 4:24 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are exactly the same tools I personally use on a day-to-day basis. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I live and govern my own life by. With this in mind, as requested by a number of people, we're looking at how to hone your own higher senses and how this can affect your life in a positive fashion. Now, rest assured, if you misuse this, it will create all kinds of havoc because of karmic law. Now, I only follow three laws: be true to yourself first, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, energy out, energy in. Okay, now keeping that in mind, if you use your higher senses to a negative end, as in trying to control somebody, trying to make somebody's life miserable, or for that matter, trying to make it better against their will, it will come back to bite you. Now, before I go any further, we have D-Worm is in with the gold. Ken has shown up with the silver, and Eternity is in here right with the bronze. Henry, you've made it in with honorable mention. Now, with that in mind, if you've got questions, Adam, how you doing? Glad you could join us. If you've got questions, absolutely, even if they're not on the topic that we're talking about at the time, do me a favor, put them in all caps, because the reality is all that is to me is not yelling. It just means you're waving your hand and saying, hey, I've got a question. Makes it so much easier for me to find it. Okay. Now, do understand all things that we're dealing with are connected. There's just no other way to put it that I'm aware of, at least not an accurate one. Okay, so when we start, who do we go? Oh. Now, we start with the easy part. Because I do prefer tools that are workable. This is honestly one of the most versatile little tools on the planet. At least from what I've seen. Get yourself, to start with, get yourself a standard deck of playing cards. Now, yes, this one's shiny. That's because it happens to be gold leaf. Okay. Now, remember what I said a while ago? I mentioned that I do desire to have the best of the best. Well, this is a standard deck of playing cards. Okay. Just standard. Okay. The real nice part about it, just a little bit of background for everything I've come to understand. Playing cards are a derivative of the tarot card. Okay. Tarot cards came along, but they got to be too much heat. So they made a couple of modifications and we end up with playing cards. Okay. Tarot, you've got 78 cards in a standard deck. Playing cards, you get 52. Okay, 54 if you count the jokers. But the reason I bring these up is because the quickest trick in the book. Now, we start with the other one. Okay, before we get to that, a couple of things. You'll notice this neat little sign over my... Oh, it is. Okay. You'll notice the neat little sign up over my shoulder here. There we go. Where it says, I am worth it. That is the first thing you got to get through your head. Quite frankly, I'm no better than you are. You're no better than I am. We are all on the same boat on that one. Okay. But the old concept that seeing is believing is absolutely backwards and completely counterproductive. Okay. What it boils down to is it's not a question of seeing is believing. It's a question of believing is seeing. Okay, so we start with that. Now, take your hands, okay, take them palms towards each other, bring them together just about a quarter inch to a half an inch apart. Okay, that's all you make sure, as you can see with mine, you can see between them. Okay, you put your hands that close, and I have no doubt you will feel something between your hands. Okay, now you may identify it as heat, as pressure, as waves. Okay, you may experience it as cold. I've heard it put, in one case in particular, I heard somebody describe it as little bubbles. Okay, running between your hands. Now, this is the energy that we are looking at working with. Now, understand, this same energy that we're talking about can absolutely be utilized for enhancing your health, okay, or clearing up complications. But this is done in tandem with the other medical procedures you're working with. Whether we're talking about modern medicine, naturopathic medicine, so-called, the ancient techniques, which they're now calling weird, New Age. New Age, in all fairness, is way older than modern. But, whatever. Now, I thought I had brown bags around, but this would work. Okay. Now, you can do this on your own. This first tool I'm going to use, and I'm going to show you here, is like an absolute charm. It works like an absolute charm. And no, I'm not going to do a demonstration to say, hey, look whether or not I can. That's not the point here. This is for personal development and to learn how to trust your own instincts. So you take a standard deck of cards. Okay. Okay, let's get the Joker out of the way because that's just being kind of a pain in the neck. Now, you take a standard deck of cards, okay? Put it face down. Now, when you put it face down, you take the first card, and all you're doing, okay, the only thing you're doing is you take the first card off the deck without looking at it. You can and don't do this in front of a mirror, guys. It backfires. Okay, because all that doing it in front of a mirror is going to do is, like, if I hold this up in front of the mirror, I can tell you what I'm looking at. In this case, camera. But when you're sitting on your own, okay, take a deck of cards, put it face down on the table. If you desire to pick a card up and point it away from you, okay, then you turn around and decide, and you reach out with your senses, okay, and you, without looking at it, you go, is it black or is it white? White. Black or is it red? Okay. And then once you've determined it's black, in my case, let's face it, I can tell you looking at it, especially when I hold it up. Back here, it looks black. I hold it up, and obviously, now isn't that neat? This is one of those old Hollywood things, where they go, wee. But if you look at it, okay, you go, okay, it's red. Now you're not looking at it. How are we doing there, Big J? Glad you could join us. Okay, you pull it up facing away from you, and you go, is it black or is it red? Okay, once you've determined it's red, turn it around, look at it. If you got it right, set it in the correct pile. Okay, and do the same thing with the next card. Now, of course, in my case, I've never even shuffled this deck, but I'm not looking to prove anything with it. Again, you take the card, your deck is face down so you cannot see it. Now, the easy way is to pick the card up and hold it away from you so you cannot see the thing, but feel whether it's black or red. Okay, once you make a decision, okay, turn it around, look at it. If you're right, put it in the correct pile. If you're wrong, you put it in the incorrect pile. What you're aiming for You got 52 cards in a deck. Okay, so the ratio you're looking for is you're looking for either a maximum, either you're looking for a maximum of 13 wrong or a maximum of 13 right. Okay, your average, if you're just guessing, should put you at roughly 50-50. Okay, so what you're looking for is to defy the odds. Now, you do this as often as necessary, and I cannot even begin to gauge how long it's going to take you. Okay, so you pull it up, and you go, okay, that's black. Then you look around, figure it out. Now, of course, I do have an advantage. I got a camera in front of me. Okay, so you look at that, and you go through them that way. The key is once you are consistently hitting a maximum of 13 wrong, in other words, you're hitting 75% accurate, okay, that's when you turn things around. Tarot cards works just the same. Okay, when you think about it, tarot cards, you can do the same thing. The reason I suggest the playing cards there, YJ, is there's less color to work with. Okay, because you think about it, I pull one card off and I'm looking at it, I go, it's black. I'm only dealing with black. When you're working with tarot cards, you've got a whole pile of colors to work with. So this is why I start off with the easy ones. Now, once you get to the point where picking between black and red is being hit most of the time with 13 with a minimum of 13 wrong. So you're looking at a 75% split. When you get to the point that you're doing that, the same deck of cards, you make it more complicated. And you go, okay, now I'm going to gauge whether it's a diamond, a club, a heart, or a spade. Okay, and you're going with the same ratio. Hey, Serpent, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay, once you've got it down to the 13, once you've got it down to 75% accurate, okay, then you make it more complicated. Now, the reason I mentioned the idea of getting either 13 right or 13 wrong is because if you're getting them all wrong, take a break and reset your thinking because you're reading the energy backwards. Okay, once you get to that 75% accuracy mark, then you make it more complicated and you start looking at it and going, is that a spade, a club, a diamond, or a heart? And you work still with the base on 13. Okay. Now with that issue, okay, what ends up happening is you'll start getting a better sense of what the cards feel like. Okay, then you make it more complicated and you go after the number. You don't worry about the sign or the color. You don't worry about the pulling an absolute blank. The suit or the color. Okay, you pick up the number and you work with that. Then you go after the suit and the number. Okay, when you're getting to the suit and the number 75% of the time, head for Vegas. Okay, because at that point your senses are running really, really high. Now, this is just one of those neat little tools that you can use. And it does actually help enhance you. What'll happen is your senses will get more accurate and your self-confidence will. How are we doing there, Shadow? Glad you could join us. Now, because of the fact you're working with cards, you've got a lot of room to work with. But like I said, you're looking at the 75% accuracy level before making it complicated. Okay. Now, once you've done that, like I said, you get up to hitting 75% of them knowing what the suit and the sign is, what the suit and the number is. Start thinking about Vegas. You may do reasonably well. Okay. But don't forget, in Vegas, they really hate it when you're counting cards. Okay. Remember, the whole idea there is it's supposed to be a chance for you to give them your money. I don't think that's the way they see it, but okay. But that's where you start. Now, the other thing that you can do, and it turns out I didn't actually have one. Okay. But if you want to get really creative with it, I do have something just dawned on me. Where am I looking here? This will work. You can do the same thing, and this you can set up ahead of time. Okay. But if you want to add to the complexity of it, and I'm not talking about necessarily using envelopes this size, but you take an envelope, okay, and just take one card. Get a friend of yours, for that matter, to take one card and put it in each envelope. Okay. And again, then you pick up the envelope, okay, or you put it on the table, you put your envelope on the table, right? And you set your hand on top of the envelope. You don't even pick the envelope up. Okay. And you reach out with your senses and you feel. How we doing there, Carl? Glad you could join us. Adam, I don't personally see it as counting cards, but the problem is the people in Vegas will. Okay, so it's probably not a good idea to do that in Vegas. But either you can stick one card in the envelope and stack the envelopes aside and walk away. Okay, but then you take the envelopes and shuffle them so you don't know what card is where. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, most cards, if they're inside an envelope, you will not be able to see them. Like if I take this envelope here, right? If I take that envelope and take a card and stick it inside, okay, now I close it. Now, you won't be able to see it this way, but if you hold it up, you can see the card itself, but you're striving to improve your own senses. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any practical, functional sense, okay, to cheat and really try and look through the envelope. So much as just hang on to it and feel the energy. Once you figure out what you feel it is, pull the card out and look. And again, if you're right, put it in one stack. If you're wrong, put it in the other one. And Carlito, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Maybe there, Carlito. These are tools that I've used and I've instructed people to use quite literally for decades. Okay. Now, this can get more complicated as you go along. I recommend starting with regular playing cards because of the fact you're only dealing with one primary color. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that we could go into, and I'm just not going to go into worrying about what the casinos have done. Okay. I mean, we know they wouldn't all be in business so often if they weren't making money. But the catch to it is that, you're going in there for fun. But this is a way of trusting your own instincts and honing your ability. Now, here's the funny part about it. As you get this talent strengthened, you will end up with the other part where you'll be able to see other things from a distance or without actually being right there to see them. Now, I will tell you, when I was growing up, I had a major problem with this. I couldn't block it up. I couldn't block it out at all. Dogface, how you doing? Glad you could join us. But these are this tool, you can work with that one repeatedly as often as you desire. But do understand, there may come a time when you're hitting nothing. Because if you overpush yourself, it's like any other muscle. You push yourself too hard, you will get tired. Okay. But that's one of these neat little tools that we can work with. Now I'm going to show you something here. Let's see here. Take that. Believe that was take that, you dirty rat. But that's another different issue altogether. Playing cards are extremely versatile. And of course, there's all sorts of ways you can use those in a negative fashion. And I encourage you not to. Okay. The idea here is to gain more self-control over you, more awareness over your life, and how to make it work in a positive fashion for you. Okay. That's the real kicker to it. Now, here's the thing, and I've got a deck over here. For those of you that aren't entirely aware of it, just about dropped that on the floor. That would annoy me. Here's the thing. If you're looking for primary colors, okay. Yeah, very much. Okay. Now here's the thing. I look at this card and you'll notice it's primarily red. Okay. If I take any one of the tarot cards, okay, you're looking at multiple colors. Now, yes, once you get good at the playing cards, I do strongly recommend, to further strengthen your ability, go with the tarot. Okay, because there's multiple colors, multiple images, but it does mean it's a little more complicated. Now, it's kind of neat when you think that card on its own, its primary definition is victory. But we must understand something here. And yeah, I realize this is going into a different realm altogether. But this card, the really good books will tell you 15 to 20 different definitions. The reality is sitting this way up. There are over 8 billion definitions to this one card. And for those of you that have the idea that reading tarot, you don't bother reading the inverted version because there's enough information. Well, that's kind of like only reading every other page in a book. Okay, because you don't need the other information. Now, with that in mind, these are just another tool. The neat part about it, okay, is as your strength grows, the tools become less and less useful. Okay, but remember, you always go back to the basics. Okay, that's how you get things moving forward. I do believe we have an interesting situation here. Temperature is always a fun thing for me. So we open that and let things happen. Now, this is only one of the tools that you can use. You can do the same thing using a deck of cards with a friend. Okay, get the friend to sit across the table from you and let them pick up the card and look at the card. They're looking at the card, they show you the back. Okay, and you still try, and what you do is you tap in and see if you can pick up the color. Now, some of you will find that working with a friend is easier than working on your own. Hey, Abby, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hope your day's been going well. When you involve other people, it does add another dimension. See, when you're using the card on your own to figure it out, you're working on your clairvoyance, possibly astral travel, depending on how you tap in. Okay. But you're working on the disconnected ones. If you're working with somebody else, you're actually learning to enhance your telepathy. Okay, where you're starting to pick up the images through somebody else's eyeballs. Okay, and again, if you're using these periodically throughout the day, okay, as time goes on, you will get stronger. It's like any other muscle. Okay, YJ's just asking, have you ever found any foods or lifestyle choices that either enhance or suppress psychic ability? Well, I will tell you, alcohol will cloud your ability to see. So will drugs, by the way. The odd part about it is what drugs do is they knock out your control. Alcohol just completely buggers your vision altogether. Okay, but some drugs and the native North Americans used to use peyote in order to have visions. Well, the reality is, if you're using an extra, some sort of drug, some sort of alcohol to enhance your ability, you will be stuck with the question of, was it my ability or was I just seeing things because I was high or drunk? Strong recommendation: don't do that. Okay, I will tell you, the more honest you are, the more the less focused you are on greed, and the negative emotions, the stronger your senses will get. Okay, and it's not very often I tell somebody that this will happen, but the reality of it, from everything I've seen, is that you end up, your trust in yourself will climb the second you add drugs, sleep deprivation, sensory deprivation. The second you add anything beyond your own ability, you will start questioning whether it was yours. Okay. And, if you're going to do it with somebody else across the table, make absolutely certain that they are being dead honest. And in all fairness, the easiest way to make sure of that is they hold the card up and they go, this is what it is. They hold the card up. You go, if in this case, it's red. Okay. And as soon as you say that, they put it down and they show you what color it was. Okay. That way you've got immediate concrete proof. Honestly, and it really is. Now, I will tell you, YJ, and the rest of you, you can focus on the negative outcomes. You absolutely can, but they do backfire. And, don't take my word for it, but I strongly recommend that you don't exactly go out and try it. But these are just a couple of the tools you can use. Something else you can do is take a brand. This is what I didn't find. Okay. Is you can take a brown paper and paper bag, get your friend to put a bunch of things in it, and set the bags on the counter. Okay. And then don't even touch the bag. Okay. Now, I was looking at this. See, these would work just as well. Okay. Again, you take something like this. Now, this, for your guys' edification, it's simply a container that comes with fresh mushrooms when I do buy them. Okay. But you can take something and, like, for instance, take standard paint. The variations are absolutely, they're incredible. Charlene, how you doing? Glad you could join us today. Okay. Again, a container. Now, obviously it's occupied, but paint's all dry. Take a container, get somebody else to put it in the bin. Okay. Whatever you do, put a cover over it so they cannot see what it is. Because if you'll notice, even if you look at the bottom of this particular thing, you can't tell what color the thing inside is. Now, with a tube of paint like this, okay, you can go and you put in simple colors. You just go after the 8. The 8 basic colors: red, blue, yellow, green, orange, purple, black, and white. Okay, so you got limited choices, so you're not trying to pick from 256 different colors. Like, you think about that. What the heck color is chartreuse? I know it's a color, but I have no idea what the thing is. But you can make it as complicated as you'd like. Now, it can be done by, you can do other neat little things, like, for instance, and this requires a friend. Okay, you take 2 objects of distinctly different color. And again, you'll notice I'm hanging on to paint. Put them both in each, you put them in your hand, but without the testing person seeing it, you put them behind your back and don't show them what it is. And then you stop moving, you go, okay, what color is in my right hand? Now, before you start doing something silly here, let's not go with the idea of playing games and just not leaving one in your hand. Okay, you go, what color is in my left hand, in my right hand? Let them take a gauge on it. And again, the more simplistic it is to start with, like I said, I said you could go with 8, but you start off with black and white. Because again, black and white are easy to identify one to the other. Okay, and by working with these simple tools, you will gain trust in your own ability to sense. Now, when I was growing up, there were 8 kids in the family. 5 of us were bloodline, 1 adopted, and 2 foster. Okay, and according to my dad, in the 17 years I was living at home, there were only a handful of times that they managed to get anything in our house that I didn't know about. But that was primarily because I had no idea how to block it. Now, this isn't to say that I told everybody what I was picking up. Okay, I found out the hard way. That's a bad idea. But these are simple tools that you can use, and you can start them tonight. Okay, if you're interested, you're going to have to start them tonight at some point. Let's say you put it off for 2 weeks, and then you go, I'm starting it. You're still going to be starting it tonight. Okay, now this is one of those things that you can work with. Okay, and as you get stronger, you'll gain more trust in your instincts. Neat little side effect. You'll start trusting your assessment of what people are up to. Okay, you'll start sensing people's motivation. Just make note of it. And when you find out what they've done, make note whether or not you're hitting accurate. Okay, because the more accuracy you find and the more consistently you pick it up, the stronger your senses will get, because your trust in you will get stronger. Okay, now this same trick, by the way, this is the exact same trick that they use in many schools with the square, rectangle, diamond, cross, and wavy line. It's the same principle. A simple shape, all one color. Okay, whereby you start making it more complicated. Okay, this is just the easiest way to look at it. Now, obviously, if you want to go that route, let's see if I've got one here that's easy to find. Probably not. I'm just looking to see, and I'm not going to. But you take a look at a card. If you take the aces and put them aside, get several decks of cards and mix them with aces, and just take the ace. Now, this is actually a joker, but the ace is the same principle. It's got one image in the middle, and that's what you focus on. Okay, It's just one of those things that you can work with. The neat little side effect there is as you get stronger, your ability to manipulate your own energy field, your own healing rate, your own memory will all come into play. Okay. And it's just a question what you do with it. But again, stick to working on the positive things because karmic law is pretty black and white. If you're putting out negative energy, you're turning it around and drawing it back to you. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm really not that interested in drawing negative energy to me. So I'm hoping this is making sense for you guys. Again, when you're looking at the basics, okay, all you have to do to start building the energy levels is simply put your hands together, quarter inch, maybe half an inch apart, and feel the energy jumping between them. This is a way of building the strength. Okay, and that's what you're aiming for. Because the more you know about your higher senses, the more you can tap into them, the more smoothly your life is going to go. Okay, many people I know of, what they'll do is go, I require a parking stall. And they'll see a parking stall being completely empty as they're coming around the corner. And all of a sudden, the car will pull out and they've got a parking stall. I know of a number of people that do this regularly. I should probably think about it, but I'm getting more to the point. Like I left my house today. The odds are I won't have to leave my house again, aside from to take the garbage out, until next weekend. That's because of the fact that as you figure out how to deal with things, your senses will get stronger. You'll be able to push further down the road. I know a friend of mine years ago, okay, things were really running bad for me or really running good. I don't know which. Okay. And the phone rang and I picked up the phone. I picked up the phone and I said, hey, Dad, how's it going? And there's dead silence on the other end. And he goes, would you at least have the courtesy to wait for the phone to ring before you answer it? These are some of the side effects of what can happen as your senses get stronger. Okay. That was not going to work. What I was about to say is, can we have a show of hands to who's going to give this a shot tonight and see what we can get started doing? Because I'll tell you, from my standpoint, we can talk about all the necessary changes that are available and never do a thing with them. And well, you see what society does there. Yeah. YJ just going, I always say that there's no such thing as coincidence. However, magic will always present itself as a coincidence. Always not so much. But do I agree with you? Yeah, quite frankly, I do. These are things that we can do. It's time to really start taking our world. Well, okay, if you're missing cards, there's a lot of other options. But yeah, you're usually on the road, and I never recommend playing cards while you're driving. Okay, it's really a bad idea. Especially when you think of what can happen. I've seen some remarkable things done by dogs there, Abby. Abby, May, I'm not sure. And obviously, you're not going to be able to do much about telling me pronunciation at this point. Okay, but with that in mind, okay, if you can't do it tonight, find a way. Some of the other things you can do, if you're a real pack rat like I was, anything that has a static color and a static shape. Okay, like something that I've used before, and I used to collect them, so that made that happen. Yeah, that depends on what your job is. I will tell you there, Charlene, if you're a surgeon, playing cards while the person's eye is open on the table, not a nice move. But something that I used to use regularly for doing exactly the same thing was quite seriously bread clips. You know, those little plastic things that hold the bread bags together? Okay, that's just the way it works. You know, yeah, Charlene goes, no, I'm not a surgeon. You know, but no, whatever you're working with, whatever it is, and this is why I say a brown bag or a container of some form works like a charm. Okay, but all you do is you look at it, make sure it's a consistent shape and or a consistent color. Okay, brown bags work really well for that. Okay, but again, get somebody to put the stuff in it, or take a dozen bags and put something in each of them that is a standard color. Okay, that is one primary color. Like, for instance, that's a little big. You know, this thing is one primary color, blue. You look on the inside, it's a whole lot of other colors. But a basic color and a basic shape. Okay, that's the key to start working with it. You absolutely can there, YJ. You can also, by the way, use coins. Okay, as in nickels, dimes, and quarters. Okay. Now, I will tell you, any variation like the variations are incredible and really are only limited by your imagination. You know, this is the one thing that you have to look at. Okay, this is something to hone your own abilities. There is no right or wrong method. There are methods that are a little bit more effective. Okay, and if you can get a second person involved in the process, in the testing, it adds that extra layer of making certain that you're sensing what you're sensing. Okay, again, something you can do, and this is with a friend. Take a scrap sheet of paper, get the friend to draw a sigil on it, be it a square, a triangle, doesn't matter. Okay, and hold the thing up facing them. Because the moment you've got somebody that's actually working with you, you're now tapping into telepathy. Okay, because you're tapping into their optic nerve to see what they're looking at. Now, this is undoubtedly done on a subconscious level. Okay, so I mean, and the neat part about it, and we're going to get to something else here in a little bit, but that is a way of enhancing your senses. Now, does anybody have any idea of what you can use that increased sensitivity for in a positive fashion? Okay. Yes, that was a question for you guys, by the way. This is where we put you to work. What do I do here? Oh, that's nothing. Oh, YJ's just going. My kid told me one day, Dad, you're going to catch 3 fish on one hook. Hour later, I had a trout on, and a bull trout grabbed it. I got them in, and the bull trout also had a smaller fish in its throat. Now, that's one of those things, YJ. Give your kid a pat on the back. Tell him, well done. Okay, I know we're running into a problem at home here because my son's senses are kicking in as well. Yes, you have, and that's absolutely the issue there, Henry. You know, see, my problem because of what I've gone through, my problem when I walk into a restaurant is I'll look in and I'll go, okay, where are the and I will tell you, surface scanning people is categorically wrong. I will also tell you I'll do it automatically. Primarily because, well, let's see. Watch 197 of your friends get murdered in front of your eyes. You get a little paranoid. Okay, but I walk into a room and I look, first of all, for who the problem children are. Second of all, for where the exits are, including potential weak spots in the wall. And usually as an afterthought, where did they locate the washroom? Okay, this is just a standard procedure for me. Okay, but yes, you can figure out what people are up to ahead of time. As your senses get stronger, you'll start picking up primary images out of the people you run into. And it's going to happen in all likelihood without any effort. Just one day you're going to start picking it up. And then you're going to be going like, where did I get this craving for French fries? I don't know about you, but I get the craving for French fries real quick. Of course, I keep them in my house. You know, now the nice part about it is your senses can be used for positive or negative. That issue is up to you. As you gain more control over your senses, you'll also find that you gain control over your healing rate, which is why these, aside from a distance, at close range now, these are actually a pain in the neck. Don't need those out. One of the things I have a really bad habit of doing, I pull a whole pile of stuff out and then go, why is that still out? Because it's a pain in the neck and now I got to put it away. You know, but again, the more organized you are, the easier you're going to find things to actually make happen. Oh, and by the way, before anybody jumps on that idea, you know, there's people that'll tell you, oh, if you're using your higher senses, it's cheating. No. In my opinion, you use your higher senses, it's no different than using your standard ones. Okay, because what you're looking for is you're looking to take dominant control over where your life is heading. Apparently, I took my pens out front. Well, they will have to wait until after I get done this. But the thing is, all of your senses can be amplified. Okay. When you're looking at, and the other thing you can do, which is again another enhancement. Okay. Take, like, and I don't know if you've got them, but if you happen to have poker chips for playing at home or backgammon chips, doesn't matter because they feel the same. But you put them all into a bag. You reach in, you grab one, and close it in your fist with your hand still in the bag. Okay. And you determine whether it is black or white. Okay. By doing that with a disc that is not identifiable by touch. Okay. It's just another variation on how to work with your sense, with your energy levels. Okay, and these are just variations on tools. Yeah, that in all fairness, Kimberly, that's what I tend to call an uncontrolled telepath. I end up doing the same thing. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty certain that's what actually cost me a relationship. Was the fact I could hear what she was thinking, and it created problems because I'd answer questions she hadn't got around to asking. But this is one of those things, just to caution guys, and I should have put this caution at the beginning. Okay, this is one of those things that once you open this door, do not make the mistake of assuming you can close it again. I had a friend of mine who did exactly that. She was unhappy with the fact she had these abilities. and she shut them down. Okay. Well, the problem was she buried them quite nicely. 4 years without anything kicking in. And then one day she had a bad day. And in the middle of the night, she lit like she was a telekinetic before she shut it down. Telekinetic, psychokinetic. Okay. She could think and move objects. In all fairness, it was people usually. But she didn't like her uncontrolled method of doing it. So she locked it all away. And for 4 years, she never experienced it at all. Worked out really well. She managed to find a husband, find a boyfriend, get married, have a kid. And then one night, because she'd been blocking it all out, her senses kicked in high gear. And she lit a candle, top to bottom, all in one shot. 2 days later, she was on the way to divorce. Yeah, I get it. I get it quite regularly. You enjoy your game there, Shadow. I take it that's where you're running off to here, or the show tonight. Where are we? Absolutely there, Shadow. You take care. And thanks again for joining us. Yes, that's exactly the point. YJ says that's why you know someone is about to call, because they're intending contact. So if they physically do it, they're also intending. Absolutely correct. Yeah, your intention, the reality is, intention is half of it. Okay, you've got the intention, but you've got to have the belief that you can actually do it. Okay, in my case, it's a question of honing it to the point that I'm not doing it accidentally. Because where I run into a problem is I get agitated and electronics fail. That's the real big kicker to it. And what do we got going on here? Just hit refresh because I'm curious what's happening here. As far as the stream goes. And with that in mind, if you haven't done so already, if you like our stream, absolutely give us a thumbs up. Do remember to hit that subscribe button. Okay, and then share the daylights out of it if you would be so kind as to do so. Okay. Now again, you can take your hands. Okay, you put them just a 1/4 inch apart. Okay, and you'll feel the energy. Now, I can't pull my hands far enough apart that I can't feel it at this point. Yeah, Charlene's just gone. My confidence is way down. I can't use my telepathy as well as I used to. Okay, first rule of thumb. Okay, when we're looking at linguistics, take that word can't and throw it right out the window. Okay, the reason being, can't it is self-deprecating and will hinder things very quickly. Absolutely. Now let's not forget, YJ, that working with animals is great. People are animals. And honestly, I find that a lot of animals have a higher IQ, but I'm a little stuck on that right now. But again, it really boils down to these tools that we've been talking about tonight are ones that work like an absolute charm. Yeah, Carlito's just saying, I would use my thumb and index finger and push each other to one another and see a spark and tingle. And yeah, but your senses are clearly further advanced than many people's. Okay, what you're looking at is the subquantum spark. Well, and I agree with you there wholeheartedly, Kimberly. This is why I warn people I'm an uncontrolled telepath. The last thing I want to do, in all fairness, is pick up directly what other people are thinking. It's a pain in the neck. Okay, but this is why I tell people, for most people, for non-telepaths, privacy is stay out of my journal, stay out of my bedroom, stay out of my private locker, whatever. With a telepath, it's called get the heck out of my head, get the heck out of my head. Okay, now I don't get that option. Okay, I've never been able to actually block it out entirely. I remember when I was still married, my wife pointed at somebody and went, "This is what the person's going through," and she was gifted. Well, is. She just fought it a lot more. But this was early in our marriage. She made the comment, and I went, "Yep." And this one's doing that, and this one's up to that, and that one had this going on. And she looks at me and she goes, "Don't you ever shut that off?" I looked at her and I went, "No." Okay, I no more shut my abilities off than you shut your ability to see out of your right eye just on whim. Okay, but it is something you can learn to work with. Just looking at what's being set up here. The neat part when you're dealing with animals, and talking to animals, talking to plants, that's just another use of your higher senses. Because you're still dealing with the same thing. Intention in their perceptions. Okay. This is why you learn so much from other species. Okay. It gets really complicated when you're dealing with things. Hate that. Go to sneeze and then decide coffee is good. Not a good combination. I can understand that all too well, Kimberly. There's one restaurant I go to in town here. They've got seating for about 100 people. But the second they get to about 25, I have troubles. I'm going to sneeze. Now I'm going to have to ask something a little bit odd here, Carlito. Carlito's asked, how do you feel about binaural? Well, yeah, binaural beats for improving. Not knowing, jumping. Well, not knowing precisely what a binaural beat is, I'm going to run into a problem giving you an answer. Yeah, well, and that's the thing there, YJ. Most people use some sort of reward system to say they're learning. Okay. Now, I will give you an answer there, Carlito. Oh, thank you so much there, D-Worm. I definitely appreciate that. And that being said, the answer is it's a great method. Okay. Oh, well, that's a bit of a hiccup. Yeah, see, I just have to wake up to deal with my lab problems. But yes, using sound is an excellent way of working it. You can do the same thing with color flashes, assuming you're not blind. If you're blind, you may have problems with color flashes. But yes, saying repeating different tones can absolutely help. Okay, absolutely. The neat part about it, when you're when you're looking at this, any method that gives you a way, that gives you a way of actually dealing with things, of separating them so you can get a quantifiable measurement, that's the real kicker to it. Okay. Yes, pretty much that is true. And in case you hadn't noticed there, D-Worm, when you're trying to sneeze, it completely screws up your coordination and your thinking. I'm pretty certain most people have the same problem. But these are things, something else that you can do, and it works like an absolute charm if your sense of taste is right. Okay. Take a cup of water. Now, I've only got 2 hands, so we got a problem here. Okay. You take a glass of water, and you remember that issue of taking your hands and just building that energy pattern? You build it enough so you can get your hands 5 inches apart, so you can still feel the pressure between them. Once you've done that, you take your hands on either side of a glass of water, and you focus on that energy. And again, you run that same word I keep telling you about, heal, through your hands. What you'll find is it knocks the impurities out of the water, and net result, it will taste better. Okay, tastes more refreshing, doesn't have quite the same afterbite if that's what you're dealing with. Now, I could do it in a hurry if I wanted to, but I just make a jug of water and put it in the fridge and leave it for a couple hours to get rid of the chlorine. Okay, Avi, you have a good night. Thanks so much for dropping in. Sometimes that is essentially correct. The reality there, YJ, all of these senses are used in a day-to-day base. Okay, everybody can use them. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, this is Wednesday night, isn't it? I have fun with trying to figure out what day of the week I'm on, never mind what month and what day of the month. Now, when you're looking at your higher senses, okay, they're all usable by each and every single one of you. Some of you will be stronger at it to start with, some of you will be weaker. But you can all improve your strength and your accuracy levels. Nightmare, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I think you came in a little earlier, did you not? The reality is your 5 senses are great. But mankind was built with 5 basic senses, and basically what people call the 6th sense is a conglomerate. It is an amalgamation of them. Oh, okay. That's okay. I've been known to see things before. But glad you could join us there, Nightmare. When you start focusing on your higher senses, on working with them, your ability to respond to other situations earlier. Okay. In other words, something as simple as spotting a rainstorm coming in. Okay. May not seem like much, but these abilities can be honed to different levels. I actually had a fire chief tell me one day that I was literally the reason the building didn't burn down. He says, I've got proof that corroborates everything that you've been saying and everything that the people in the area here have been saying. But he says, I feel I have to tell you, you're why the building didn't burn. But there is no way I'm putting that in my report. Something about the fact that he figured he would get, tossed out of his job, which I can understand him worrying about. I don't know about you, but an income is kind of a necessity in today's world. And that's just the reality behind life. When I was dealing, like, I got an email yesterday. Somebody at Santoff had gone to buy one of the races of the worlds, and they put the email address in wrong. Okay, net result was it didn't get to me. Okay, fortunately, he got back in touch with me and we got it worked out. It was sent out this morning. But all of your higher senses can be put to use. Okay, an example of some of those is psychometry, which is the ability to pick up an object. Now, obviously, a pen's pretty easy, but psychometry is the ability to pick up an object, feel the emanations off it, and figure out who held onto it last, or what the intention was of the last possessor. Okay, sometimes you can track it back generations, depending on how strong you are. Okay, then you've got telepathy, which we all know is basically picking, sending, and receiving minds. Empathy is the ability to pick up what other people feel. Okay, what I call telepathy is the ability to send and broadcast emotions. Okay, to both receive them and broadcast them. Now that's one of those annoying things I do automatically, but usually I'll broadcast when I'm upset. Okay, fortunately I do my best to avoid the upset too much. So I'm just looking at this and it's like there are so many. What do we got here? Carlito's going, why is it that some people have bad experiences with aliens and some do not? Is it because of the person's energy or maybe karma biting back from past life? Ironically enough, it's actually both. It can be either one of those, Carlito. Sometimes it's because they've set themselves up, and I'm fighting this tooth and nail in this industry. Okay, that so many people buy into the negative side that what they're doing. Remember that thing about energy out, energy in. If you are firmly believing that all of the aliens are evil people and they're going to hurt you, you can bet your bottom dollar you're going to draw one to you that is going to make life miserable. Okay. That's the biggest issue. Okay, now sometimes it is a past life thing. Okay, Lord knows the reason I came into this world the way I did was because of past life. In my last lifetime, okay, which was 1898 to 1956 in Chicago, Illinois, I was one of the most violent people you could run into because I killed just because. Somebody ticked me off and that'd be the end of it. Okay, but right at the end of my life, I ran into an off-worlder. Okay, and was asked to protect this little munchkin. So I did what I could. And then immediately came back this lifetime. I actually met that same young lady. And she at that point was an adult. Okay. But past lives will affect your next one. Okay, and the way you are this lifetime will have a direct bearing on your next one. This is why, as you go through life, start thinking about how you would start changing what's going on that you're not content with, and then focus on your next life at the same time to say, hey, I'm coming back. Like next lifetime, I've already figured out part of it. I'm coming back. I'm going to make absolutely certain I come into a life where I've got the finances to actually survive, where I don't have to struggle. I absolutely agree with you. There's one thing you got to remember there, Carlito. Okay. The one thing you got to remember. Absolutely turn the other cheek. But there comes a point where you got to ask. Well, the thing there, YJ, is it's actually a combination. Now, here's the comical part about it. Some aliens have psychic capabilities. If you're a gamer, you may call it psionics. Okay. Some off-worlders have psychic capabilities. Other ones don't. Like the Halons, for instance, I believe it's the Halons, are absolutely full telepaths. And this is why, see, the second I question, I always double check just because I know I've already documented it. So I go to here and we go H. Yeah. The halons do, but yeah, the halons and the xerons are both extremely psychically gifted. Okay. And it does depend on how you're looking at it. Yeah, the thing is, all aspects of your personality and the off-worlder's personality as an individual they all contribute to what you're going to go through. The nice part there, Kimberly, is contrary to many people's belief, you do not have to return to Earth. You don't even have to be human or humanoid. You've got a full array of choices to go through. Okay. The reason so many people come here, I'm certain of it, is self-punishment. In my case, it's a whole different issue. Okay. I made an agreement years ago and curiosity got me into it. You've heard the term curiosity killed the cat. Well, in my case, it kind of trapped me because I'm quite literally, from a soul standpoint, I am going to be on Earth for the next probably 5 billion years, maybe 10. I don't know, whenever the sun decides it's going to belly. Okay. Now, the question you got to ask yourself, Kimberly, is are you trapped or are you just not sure how to go about moving forward? Well, that's kind of opposite ends of the scale. You're either going to be really short and scrawny or really big and bulky. This is you, Carlino, by the way. Essentially, it really is YJ. Basically, Earth was designed so that spirits could have a physical experience with limited senses. Okay, it was very much designed as here's a new way to experience the world, your existence. I am curious there. I'm curious there, YJ, and pardon my obtuseness, but what, pray tell, is ASD? Oh, I could not agree with you more, Kimberly. I was just talking, that is one of those topics that I will one day deal with because there's two major questions that bother me consistently. And the higher your senses get, the more this will become a pain in the neck. Okay. And that is trying to figure out why people are insistent on choosing to live in fear. And it literally boils down to a choice. People have to start realizing higher senses are not a bad thing. What you do with them can be a bad thing. Of course, if you think about it, you put somebody behind the wheel of a car, they've got all kinds of advantages. They've got all kinds of perks with it. But they can do a bad thing like running over people in the crosswalk. I did find that you run into far fewer cars and have far fewer vehicular accidents if you just stick to driving on the sidewalk. But that is usually a bad idea. Oh, that's a bonus. And that really is a bonus there, Kimberly. She goes, I was told by a therapist I am a very sensitive person, and it's a real diagnosis. I got told I was temporally challenged. Right. Meaning I literally cannot track time if my life depends on it. Okay. Oh, sure. PTSD helps great, Kimberly. Makes your life absolutely so much more complicated. Oh, you mean it doesn't make it easier. My apologies. No, I suffer from PTSD myself. And the thing is that on top of suffering from PTSD, I've been told that I am very much, shall we say, I've got a very short temper where it comes to dealing with what I consider stupid people. And rest assured, there's a lot of them out there. But the tools we were talking about earlier, okay, are absolutely some very functionally quantifiable tools that I've worked with. Okay. And, there's a lot of variations you can do, not the least of which is, like I said, you take a brown paper bag, get somebody else to put stuff in it. But when you're starting out, you start out with literally with something that is uniform shape or uniform color. For instance, a ball, or for that matter, a ball of one color, or if you want balls with multiple colors, there's no problem there, but you focus on the shape. Okay, gaming dice are a great way to do it. You take standard cube, you get a four-sided, which is your triangle. Okay, there's a lot of different variations you can go with, but use your imagination. Absolutely use your imagination. Yeah, I can always. Yeah, that's what I keep saying. Why I keep telling people. It's like, how you doing today? Well, I'm still not pushing. I'm still not pushing Daisy. So what the heck? Oh, okay. That's what that boils down to. See, the neat part is, I actually got tested for all that. YJ. Turns out I'm not. Like, mentally speaking, I'm perfectly fine. As long as we don't count my temper. Okay. Now, could I go back and get tested again? Probably. But the way I figure it, I've had three professional psychiatrists all tell me my brain is working fine. So I go back and check for a fourth. I figure that keeps me unlocked, so I should be good. But when you're looking at your higher senses, when I told you to talk to you about that issue of put your hands together, focus on one word, heal. It was that word that I used, running my hand. Literally, all I did was run it this way, over top my arm for periodically for a few days, and I healed the bone in my arm. Okay, I bolted and broke it so bad. Oh, it gets worse than that, but you are right, Kimberly. I broke it so bad they had to bolt it. I healed the arm in 9 days. Okay. Since you're somewhat versed in astrology, aren't you there, Kimberly? Or is that just a case of memory? I have one of the worst combinations in my natal chart. I've actually got a grand cross. I've got what's called a grand cross in fixed signs. Okay. Being, if I remember correctly, being between my Sun, my Mars, my Neptune, and my Saturn. Okay. Net result, there is no way. If I get my mind set on something, I'm done. That's where it's staying. Oh, yeah, no doubt. Taurian tempers are pretty volatile, if you will. Okay, I get the added bonus. My second birthday, I was reborn a Leo. Okay. And with that in mind, that's where that is another one that is just a problem child. Okay. But there are positives and negatives to every sign. And I will tell you this. when you look at any of the astrological reading write-ups, they'll tell you if you're in opposition to somebody else, you can't get along. Like, for instance, Taurus can't get along with Scorpio. Well, this is absolutely insane. Okay, if that were the question, if that were the case. Okay. Yeah, but Kimberly, you may be all over the place, but you've always got somebody to talk to. If it were the case of signs on the opposite side of the chart were not capable of getting along, that would put half of our world at odds all the time. Come to think of it, there might be something there. Yeah, isn't that the truth, YJ? And this is why I encourage people to look at your own boundaries, your own goals, your own tendencies, and get to know who you are. Okay, absolutely get to know who you are, because the more you know about you, and this is why you're here in the first place, is to remember everything you're capable of doing. Okay, that is just the reality behind it. Okay, the reality is we are here to actually remember who and what we are capable, who we are and what we're capable of. Oh, absolutely. Like, yes, I mean, acknowledge your shortfalls. I've got a temper I'm not happy with. But does it have a use? Certainly, it does make people go away when I need them to. I don't recommend that as a method, by the way. And especially with your daughter, of course, you got to remember. Where you've got a kid that has a temper. The first rule of thumb: telling them they've got a temper isn't necessarily going to go over well. Or telling them they're stubborn, especially telling a Taurian, well, you're just stubborn. If you're lucky, they'll look at you and go, well, yeah. Let me ask you this, YJ. If you don't mind, I'll answer it right off the bat here. All I need to know is your birthday. Absolutely, it would be, Kimberly. That was something my father held all the time. Hey, Bones, how you going? And yeah, I'll get to the Jello after we get done the stream. That's not a bad idea. Okay, give me a sec here. Just gotta write that down. December 9 of 75. Okay, this is where this funny little book comes in. And no, before you go down that funny little road, we're not going to get too far into it. But I'm just checking where your Pluto is, because that is likely one of the things. See, if we go up to 75 here. What are we at? December 9th. Okay. Okay, December 9th. What do you got? Okay. Let's take a look at that. You've got your moon in Pisces. It's just in all likelihood. Do you know if you were born in the afternoon or in the morning there, YJ? Need my eyeballs. Ah, 7, okay. Now, that being said, we go to December 9th of 75. Okay, that puts your moon in Aquarius. But what I'm looking for is what's sitting in Pisces for you. In your sign. Okay. Number 1. Oh, okay. Well, it's not in your Pluto itself. because your Pluto is actually sitting in Aquarius. Nope. Your Pluto is sitting in Libra. Now, Libra is one of these neat little signs that drives your creative side up very well. And of course, Pluto is one of the biggest things you got to look at. The other one, of course, is Uranus. Now, I could pull the whole thing apart, but where is 79? No, 75. Where did your Uranus go? Oh, okay. Uranus being the ruler of Scorpio. No, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, but Uranus is in Scorpio. Now, Uranus is the sign of change. Okay, and it tends to be a bit of an extremist. But because it's sitting in Scorpio, this is where your heightened senses are coming from. And yeah, the reality is the more you poke into it, the more you understand about you, the better the tools you've got to work with. Oh, neat. That's great, Carlito. He's just saying, I keep seeing that Aldebaran female in my dreams, and I'm reporting all my experience to her. It's really cool. I think their origin sign is Taurus. Now, I will warn you, unless they were born on Earth, the odds of their sign being Taurus are not good. Okay, because don't forget, every planet has its own version. Hey, Lazarus, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You got to remember, the astrological signs are based on where people are. Okay, it's just that simple. Although she probably has the same traits. Thing that most people don't realize is Taurians have, because they are the opposite sign to Scorpio, Taurians have a tendency of developing psychic ability anyway. Problem is that they are so stubborn, they won't usually tell you they've got it. They just simply respond to it. But the tools that we've been talking about are ones that work like an absolute charm. Now, I will tell you another thing that will help enhance your abilities. There are other things you can do. If you've got eye trouble, take your glasses off, and I kid you not. Matter of fact, if you've got glasses, try this one now. Okay, leave your glasses on for a second, and hold your hand up and look at the hand. Okay, the odds are you'll see a little bit of a double image anyway. But if you take your glasses off, you'll see the energy field around your hand so much more readily. This is the aura that you're looking at. Okay, this is that biomagnetic field I talk about, and that is something you can manipulate, that you can maneuver and do how you will. Okay, but where some people run into a snag is that we end up looking at the situation we're doing and going, I don't design, I want to change things, but unfortunately, most of us are taught, most of us are taught that what you're born with, you're stuck with. And this is not the situation. YJ, in answer to your question, some people do it for 50 cents. There are programs out there that are absolutely astronomical. Now, because of the length of time that it takes, let's see if I've actually got what I had. If I've got something sitting here. But I have to find a document that I had a while ago. I used to do them all the time, right? But they are a very drawn-out process. And besides that, there's a kink to getting most of them done. Okay. And this is why I had to redesign astrology myself, at least some of the key factors with it. Astrology itself works, but there are some kinks in it that I did come across. Now, if you get a good astrologer, okay, right off the bat, you're looking at a minimum of $50 to $100 for a chart. Okay, in my case, I actually charge more because I actually do it all by hand. But I do have to track down the template again. I haven't done them, I've got 4 of them lined up that I've got to get done. But I will tell you, done by hand, it takes hours. Okay, if I recall correctly, it took me dang near 10 hours last time I went to do one. But that's because of the in-depth side of what I go. But the thing you got to remember with a natal chart, regardless of who you're getting to do it, okay, what a natal chart tells you is the tools and the tendencies you brought into this lifetime. Okay, and yeah, this is one of those things I'm going to have to look at and go, okay, time to open that door again. At one point, I actually designed a course to teach astrology in a different fashion than what you'll find in any book. Okay, because I found some little kinks in it that I didn't like, so I went looking for the answers. Okay, now that said, once you know the basics, it's relatively easy to figure it out. But the natal chart itself is complicated. Okay, and this is why just going, if you just go by the sun sign, you'll get a general tendency. But when you're looking at your horoscopes online, you look at your sun sign, your moon, your Neptune, and if you've got the right one, and this one I question regularly, your ascendant. In all fairness, Kimberly, it's not going to be a problem. Kimberly's just going, if you don't know your time of birth, how accurate would your chart be? Think of it this way. If you don't know your time of birth, personally, I just go with 6 a.m. if you don't know it. But here's why. When you're looking at Earth, okay, all the rest of the planets that are moving, you're looking at planets that move hundreds of thousands of miles. Okay, if you don't know your time of birth, the furthest you can be off is 8,000 miles. That's the furthest you can be offline. Now, 8,000 compared to several 100,000 is pretty pocket change. So it won't have any functional bearing. Okay. Does it change things? Certainly, because it will change the ascendant point. But the overall chart of what you're born with will be pretty solid anyway. That's the easiest way to look at it. Not a problem there at all, Kimberly. No, you brought that up, YJ, and it is something. I've got the template for it on my computer somewhere. And while I'm looking through things, I will find out because I worked it out before. I've actually got 2 different charts that I do. One is a very basic one. The other is a whole lot more in depth. And I'll show you something here. I think I've got it. Is it up front here? Or did I move down back? No, I moved it down back. Or did I? No, that's the bones. No, I definitely moved it down back. See, on top of working with the planets, one of the things that I found is there's a number of stars I work with. Stars, calculated points, that sort of thing. But mine is done all by hand. I refuse to use a computer. Yes, quite honestly, I find it extremely difficult. For me, it really, Carlito's going, man, it's hard being human. I find it hard living amongst them. what I can't really wrap my brain around, I've never been able to wrap my brain around, is why so many people are so intent on looking at the fact that, and they call it a fact. Aliens are going to attack us. All the reptilians are bad. I'm telling you, this is something that gets brought straight out of a movie line in the late 70s, early 80s. And I mean, if you think about it, people keep looking out there going, we're all going to be wiped out. Well, I know a number of people, Kimberly, I swear they're brain dead and pretending to be alive. But no, rest assured, the people on this planet are alive. I mean, yes, I see a lot of dead ones wandering around, but that's another issue. Okay. But rest assured, dead people smell different. And I don't mean just the corpse side of things. Okay. But in a sense, most people are extremely restricted of their own doing. Yeah, Carlito's going, out of all my experiences and research, I never felt that I get angry when people say aliens are evil or have soul or have no soul. Wait a minute. Well, I find that I get angry when people say aliens are evil or have no soul. The reality is that, okay, I never thought of that, Henry. First of all, Carlito, I mean, it just drives me up the wall with some of it. And, I haven't seen Raven come in, but I'm going to put it to you this way. Because I figure I'm allowed. At least I hope so. If everything goes according to plan, let me just double check that because I think I wrote it down. If everything goes according to plan, on the 22nd, I should be going on Raven's show. Okay. I just haven't seen Raven come in here tonight, which probably means she's been a little busy, which wouldn't be a shock. But no, I find when people sit there and go, all of these things are evil, or like you there, Carlito, they don't have a soul. Every living entity has a soul. Okay. And when I mean living entity, animals, people, plants, elementals, for that matter, the elements. The planet you yourself are sitting on right now, this particular one has a soul. Okay. So, yeah, things are getting interesting. And I still have the same problem there, Nikki. We're running pretty late, and we run late into the night, and I'm usually dead to the world by about 9:30, it seems, at this point. Which is why I don't always end up on available for the Wednesday night show. My days are just screwy. There are some, I have a tendency of looking at the world and going, okay, if you guys are going to consider, if you guys are going to focus on whether or not we're going to get wiped out by aliens, I'll tell you, your life is going to be spent looking over your shoulder to no avail, because if they actually decide to do it, if any one of the ancient races or the off-worlders decided to take out Earth and just say, to heck with the consequences, mankind would not even know the fight was starting before it was over. You wouldn't even know it was underway. All you'd end up with is, oh, we're dead. And that'd be the end of that. I'm probably going to do the same thing there. Nikki, because I run into a problem. The last time, a couple of weeks ago, when I managed to get on, I ended up getting a nap right before the show. Last week I only was working that Wednesday. I was only working on 1 hour of sleep. Not necessarily a great setup. But, I'm looking at the way the world is going and going, guys, we got to start realizing if you're going to live your life in fear, if you're going to propagate fear, okay, what you're actually doing is you're taking that ability to manifest and you're tossing your hat into the ring and going, let's really push the idea and let's make our life completely miserable. Okay. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking this is being counterproductive. What we have to look at, take the higher senses, take the tools that we've been talking about today and start putting them to use. Because I will tell you, they're just like any other muscle. Okay, the more you use them, the stronger you get. And the stronger you get, the more you'll be able to use them. It's kind of a catch-22. Okay, but do understand, if you're not focusing on them for the right reason, you're going to create problems for yourself. And they're going to be some pretty serious problems. Oh, heavens, yeah. Unfortunately, if you point, the sad part there, Henry, is what I found is if you point somebody in the direction of, oh, the world's going to end, let's fear it. People run at it like children after an ice cream car. You know, and I haven't talked to her a lot, but that apparently is going to. I don't know how long the show is. I haven't talked to her about that at all. And this is assuming that everything goes the way it's supposed to at this point. Okay, but it looks like we're looking at the 22nd. I'm going to try and I don't know what the channel is, but I'm going to try and try to be on the channel with Nikki, on the show with Nikki tonight. At least assuming Nikki's going to be there. Absolutely, Henry. Yeah, Bones, the world will end at some point. Buddy of mine calculated it out. It's probably going to be a few trillion years by the time the Earth does come to a close. But mankind is quite possibly going to wipe themselves out way before that, because people are focusing on how bad things are getting and how bad they're going to continue to get. The sad part is people are telling me they want the world to change, but so few are willing to change their own behavior and their own thought process that things aren't shifting gears much. Okay, we got to realize that pointing the finger at somebody else and saying it's your fault, it's the government's fault, it's the Illuminati, it's the elites. We got to quit pointing the finger. Guys, you got to remember, it was pointed out to me really nicely. But if you take one finger and you point it that direction, look where the other three fingers are going. Okay. Everybody plays their part. And if you're not content with the way your world is going, including the complications in society, it is up to you to start speaking out about it. And this is why I say the one thing I did decide that I was going to do is keep this channel going as long as I can. Okay. With the idea that we can actually start making a viable difference. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you, YJ. And the first thing that we had, two things that we have to realize, it was really kind of sad a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the religious icons people follow, and the amount of religions that say, this is the creator of all you see. Do exactly what he says, or he's going to make your life miserable. And I'm sitting here. Why, pray tell, would I worship somebody that's going to make my life miserable if I don't do exactly what I'm told? Okay. The fact of the matter is, if we start, yeah, It would be amazing, YJ's just going, it would be amazing if the public weather pattern switched from cancel culture to accountability culture. Less blame, more accountability. Absolutely. And this is why I say every conversation you have, every conflict you have, you are, regardless of what the conflict was, you are 50% responsible for the conflict. Okay, or for the misunderstanding. Now, acknowledging your own flaws is the first step to sorting this out. But we got to remember, if you take a look at the governments, the heads of corporations, somebody, and it wasn't here, it was somebody on another show I was on, made the comment they hated Elon Musk because Elon Musk had all this money. Well, Elon Musk did exactly what everybody else has the option of doing. Only he went out and made it work. This does not mean the guy is an absolute brilliant humanitarian. But he did figure something out. Okay. And being mad at somebody because they've got money, to me, is kind of counterproductive. Okay. Although it would mean I'd have a right to be mad at everybody, because let's face it, money is not my strong suit. But I do agree, if people were to simply acknowledge when they've got a problem. I looked at it one day and I went, I've only been wrong once in my life. I thought I was wrong and I wasn't. But, the reality of it is that every single individual I've ever run into makes miscalculations somewhere. And it's by taking responsibility of said action and making the effort to change it, to change the things that aren't working. This is how we're going to turn things around. Now, with that in mind, the tools that we were talking about earlier, and that is the only functional way to do it, YJ. Sad to say, you're one of the few people that I've ever talked to that actually does that. Okay, most people take a look at it and go, oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day that was having that problem, where everything they did was they were being told what they did wrong. They never knew if they did something right. This doesn't work well. Okay, but we got to remember, this is not a question of the government playing with brainwaves. The human mind has the phenomenal capacity of changing things. Has the phenomenal capacity of changing things for the better if people start going, it's my doing, I'm responding to this in this negative fashion, and it ain't working. Okay. There are a lot of things that we can deal with. Yeah, you notice that worked really well in our age there, Joe? That neat little reorientation thing of you're mouthing off to the wrong person, kathwack. Now, I do not personally condone violence by any functional stretch. Okay, but I do realize that was the way it was done a lot of the time. I was lucky. We always got told before we got a spanking, you keep doing that, this is a side effect. And boy, you did not want a man that was 5 foot, that was 5'8", with a 52-inch chest and 18-inch forearms, giving you a spanking. This was not fun. See, for my older brother, I learned to tuck and roll. I cannot tell you the number of times I was fired down a staircase by my older brother and out through a plate glass window. Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, what do we got here? Hey, Nathan, that's one of the drawbacks there. I agree with you, Joe. Joe goes, bring back the corporal punishment that me and Uncle Keith grew up under. Absolutely. The fact of the matter is they took corporal punishment out and then told the teachers, and in all fairness, it was our generation. You can't tell my kid what to do. And now you look at the bedlam. I was talking to a kid in grade 12 the other day, and he goes, all the school shootings that are happening down in the States right now are not because you've got a bunch of violent kids that are just hell-bent on hurting people. It's because kids are not being heard. Quite frankly, and I know there's going to be flack on this one, but children or, kids, adults, everybody desires boundaries. They desire rules that are in place that they know, that they know where the boundaries are. Hey, Terry, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, the nuns got a little carried away. A buddy of mine had the same problem. I was lucky. I'd be sitting there, something be going on, and I'd just do a face plant, also known as epilepsy. But they didn't tend to beat us for actually passing out. Mind you, I was not in a school with nuns. I was in a military school. But the sad reality of it. Absolutely, they do, Henry. And apparently, broke people raise broke kids. But did that get you any closer to John, to God there, Joe? From my standpoint, my whole family walked out of the church when one of the priests created a problem. But that being said, baptized Roman Catholic, raised broadband Protestant, became agnostic, and then turned around and I'm currently actually a minister. But no, I do not beat people for using the left hand. Essentially, yes, and they're getting worse, quite frankly. Hey, wild. Carlito's just going, hey, Keith, on 60 Minutes News, I heard something about a huge spaceship happening. It's about time they acknowledged the thing was here. You should have seen the earlier days. But it is nice to say they're at least popping things out. The unfortunate thing that I'm seeing right now is the people, and I mean the kids and the young adults, don't know where the boundaries are anymore. Nobody's bothered telling them because you got to be politically correct. And I never was good at the politically correct thing. The sad part about it is we can, and the nice part about it is we can change this world. We can make it a better setup, but we're going to have to get started on it. And the first thing that we have to do, one of the prominent ones, especially in the field that I work in, is we've got to get people to realize, you say reptilian, they did not take over the world. This is a charlatan's act straight out of the 1970s and 1980s. Okay, this whole concept, nobody prior to that talked about any reptilian taking over the Queen's position or becoming a president or anything else. Nobody ever even thought about it until about 1978 when the series V came out. Sorry, when the movie V came out, and then 1982, 83 when the series came out. Nathan, if you're going down to Florida, depending on where you are, you want to look off. If you're looking, you want to look off the southwest edge of the Panhandle. Look out into the ocean. Okay, that's where you really start looking at things. Yeah, just make sure that you talk to the right ones, because there are some down there that you really don't want to deal with. Yeah, I have no doubt about that. That's why I figured, Nathan's just saying I'll be in full observation mode. You know, that's why I'm just saying that's the direction you want to look to. Okay. And the reason for that is because of the fact it's somewhat sheltered. The thing I found out about Florida, a friend of mine years ago went to go into a bar down there, and the bouncer stopped him and goes, "Are you packing?" And my friend, he goes, no. The bouncer slapped a 38 special into his hand and says, "Give back when you get it, when you leave." I'm thinking, to me, this would be an indication, turn around and go home. You know, that's excellent there, YJ. That's one of the things I'm making certain of with my munchkin. Because let's face it, for me, trust is not a strong suit. Okay. I came to the conclusion a long time ago it doesn't work for me well. And it's just been reiterated way too often. But the tools I talked about at the beginning of this stream are ones that not only do I personally use, but I have passed on to countless other people, okay, on how to use it, okay, and how to work with it. Now, with that in mind, I'm bringing this where we were in the last couple of minutes. If you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Actually, it's really neat. We got 23 likes on the show, on the stream today. I think that might be a record. Whoop. Well, that's just terrible. Oh, there we go. Now I'm moving again. Everything locked up on me. Waiting for things to kick back in here. What do we got? Oh, yeah. Heck, if you're from Kelowna, okay, in Kelowna back in the 80s, the Willow Inn had a dirt floor for exactly the same reason. Okay. Now, that said, people, if you do like the channel, do subscribe. Please share the daylights out of it. Okay. We are only 20 people away from 500 right now. But I will be back again tomorrow. No, wait a minute. Tomorrow's Thursday. I won't be back tomorrow, but I'm hoping to be awake to do the show tonight. Okay, with Nikki. And in all fairness, I don't know what the address is there. But with that in mind, I will be back on Friday. Oh, Friday, before I forget. What are we dealing with on Friday? Friday, we are going to touch on how to tap into your creative side and how to put that to use. Okay. So, with that in mind, I will catch up with you guys again later. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. And until we talk again, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.